So hello to all, welcome, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Soccer Hub Talks. My name is Ricardo Valveira. I'm the CEO and founder of Soccer Hub. As many of you already know, Soccer Hub is an online education platform for soccer experts. I mean, soccer coaches, soccer analysts, soccer scouts. Well, just visit us to know us, to get to know us a bit better. As you know, today we are here with the Soccer Hub Talks. As you know, it's a live interview. So you will be able to ask questions. So if you want to ask any question, just write it on the chat box that we will select some to ask to our speaker today. Also, I would like you to click on the like button if everything is okay with the audio and the video. Please do it now. If everything is okay with the audio and the video, please click on the like button. And also, I insist for you guys to introduce some information about yourselves in the chat box once again, such as your job, the country that you are based in, so we can adapt a bit our conversation. So today's subject is from the USA to Europe and back. We invited Steve Cherundolo to be part of this discussion. So our idea with this debate is to understand the trip of Steve to Europe, where he played for several years, and then what kind of knowledge did he took from Europe and the differences between these two markets. Well, but who is going to interview these Steve will be Nuno MIlheiro, and I will introduce them in a few seconds. Hello, Steve. Hello, Nuno. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Ricardo. Thank you. Hello, Steve.
Thank you, guys.
So guys, Nuno, the panel is yours. I'm going to leave you guys discussing, okay?
Perfect.
Steve, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and I hope that we'll be able to see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.
Hello, Steve. Thank you. First of all, thank you for accepting the invitation. And I did my scouting like I do everybody that watches. I choose people that identify myself with and that share knowledge. That is everything in life, you know, and are open to share. So thank you for accepting, and it's been fantastic. And I would like everybody to know that Steve accepted straight away, and that's fantastic. Hello all, and thank you again for being here watching us. And so as you see, it doesn't need much introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. So a very special guest that is a legend in two countries, not only, but especially in his home country, the US, and also in Germany, where he played for 17 seasons since 19 years old, I believe that, Steve, that you left the US. Yeah, okay. He's gonna speak in a bit, guys. I know you are here to listen to him, not me, but I need to do my part. And he played 17 seasons, always for the same club, Hannover 96. What is unbelievable in these days, that his loyalty to the club. He finished his career over there, and he played on average 30 matches per season. What is amazing. He was not only there, he was playing like all the time. And it's very rare. He was also a captain for both national team and also for Hannover, and he has 87 caps for his country, home country, and he played 3 World Cups, and he won a Gold Cup with USA. And unfortunately, he won some matches against Portugal, I believe. He beat Portugal a few times. That's the bad part for me, but it's amazing for him, for sure. So, guys, that you watch every week. Today we have a surprise for Steve. He was such a nice person to accept that I decided to make a small surprise, because we also need to give and not only to get. So, Steve, before usually you probably don't watch, I do like a scout profile of when you were a player, like you were as a player. But today we have a very special guest that couldn't be here live, but he left a message to do and then after you can say if you agree or not. So, Ricardo, if you can please put.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Stevie. How are you? Expect is everything okay with you, with your family? That is the most important in this time. Saying that is a pleasure to be here, and thanks to the guys that make me the invitations to be here and making this surprise to Stevie because he deserves it. Saying that Stevie was one of the most important person for me in Germany, because on that time I leave my country back, my family back, my friends back, and we had to support in other things, and we support in 5, 6, 7 good friendship that we arrange during the time that we pass in Hanover. Stevie was one of them. We lunch together, we dinner together, we play together, we had fun together. So I take your friendship for life. Speaking about Stevie like a professional is easy, because a person that, or a player that play 17 seasons in Hanover is a legend in Hanover, is a legend in America in football. It's easy to speak about him. He's a right back, really fast right back that is really offensive, with a lot of technique, but also aggressive, and with a culture tactic very good. But the most important part is the leadership that he had also in the dressing room. It was very important, and making not just him to give a step up, but also we take the team with him. I keep for life all the good moments that we live together. Thanks for all, and good luck for what the life has to give to you.
Okay, Steve, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks to Ricardo to tell people that, because we have people all over the world. Ricardo Souza played with Steve, like you can see, and he was a brilliant player. And thanks to Ricardo also, straight away he accepted my challenge. He said, "Steve is amazing. I want to be part." So, Steve, let's start. First of all,
thank you very, very much. And if you speak to Ricardo again, tell him I said hello, and I will reach out to him shortly. I'll find his number. Fantastic guy. I really appreciated that. Thank you much. Thank you very much for the surprise.
That's okay. That's my pleasure, because I think this is the nice thing, it's not only for one side. It's also, especially in these days that we are living, that is hard. If you can make someone smile and to see an old friend, then for sure he doesn't mind that I'll pass you the number after. And so Steve, again, thanks for being here. Do you agree with him about the scouting analysis, because he's a manager? I don't know if you know, he's a manager, and do you agree with what he said? You can say no.
No, I agree. He was spot on with a lot of the points he made on the field and off the field. So I was very happy with that scouting report. The only thing that doesn't fit, if his scouting report was accurate, then I shouldn't have stayed for 17 years in one club. I should have been picked up by another club here and there. But no, I really appreciate the kind words, and I agree with what he said.
Okay, perfect. So he's also a good scout. It's also important for a manager to be a good scout. Yeah. So I believe he's gonna watch after, of course. So if you can tell also to people, just quickly, briefly, how was Ricardo? So we do your part now as a scout, Ricardo, on the pitch, just briefly. So for him also.
Yeah, I think as a person, first and foremost, as a manager, I always look at the person first. And I think even though it was a short video, I think everybody was able to see that he was a very empathetic and well-liked human being. So that's always an important part of any scouting report that I would give. But just on the field, just a lethal left foot, very creative mind, great passer of the ball. More importantly, the most important pass in the game of soccer we have is the assist. And a great eye of slipping balls in between defenders or chipping over the back line. Just a really good classic number 10, if you will, who had the physical capabilities to keep up in the German league as well. So was a big part of our success while he was here. It was a type of player we didn't have on our team, and I was really happy to have him, and somebody whenever I had the ball who I was looking for to get on the end of the pass. So the only thing that I think maybe he could improve on moving forward is also an important part of a manager's job is to not look all the good, but look at the bad as well. Is to be a little more dangerous going forward. So finding the end of crosses in the box, whether they're hit low or high, being a little brave or more brave in the box, getting on the end of crosses. I think that's something that can improve his game. And to be fair, I'm sure he learned that lesson when he left Germany. So fantastic player, was an important part of our team. And as you heard before, not only on the field, but at the lunch table, at the dinner table, at the breakfast table as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Steve. I think you agree. If we could take like 10% of his capacity for the free kicks and put on that thing that you said, he will be amazing anyway on the free kicks because he was fantastic. Yes. Shooting the free kicks, and will be more complete in that side. I think you agree. So thanks to Ricardo, and like I said, I hope of course you enjoy. So let's talk a bit about you and your career. So you decided to become a football player. With what age did you decide? Because at the time that you left, soccer in the US was not so popular. The league was, I believe, started like 2 years before you left. So what age did you start actually practicing soccer, and how it came the decision to become a soccer player?
Well, I started playing very early, as most kids do in the United States, in the recreational leagues. So I think the AYSO, so the governing body of youth soccer in the United States. So I started very early, age 4 or 5. Mostly just to get out and get some exercise like the other kids, and then didn't really fall into a travel team or a competitive situation until I was about 11 or 12. Then I joined the La Jolla Nomads at the time. I think now they're the San Diego Nomads, which was a blessing in disguise for me. I grew up with English coaches, or coaches from the UK, better said, and they really opened my eyes to this game, that most loved game around the world. Showed me videos of Premiership soccer and other countries in Europe, and that really got me fixated on this dream of becoming then a professional player. And then the MLS started up in '96 when I think it was in high school, a junior or sophomore in high school. I must have been a junior. And that was an option, going straight into MLS right after high school before I went to college. I was part of the initial group, Project 40. I think it was the first 40 players to be involved in the first couple of years of the league. Turned that down and went to college for 2 seasons because that was kind of the route every youth player went in the United States at that time, and maybe wasn't ready yet for the professional game. And then had the opportunity to go to Europe, and to me that was an easy decision to see if I could stay up or challenge myself and make a career in European soccer. And the first opportunity I had was to come to Germany, and I did that. And who would have thought 20 years later, 21 years later, I'm still sitting in the same spot I started. So it's been an incredible ride. It's been a long ride, but I do think all along the way, something that has very, very important to me has been the goal of becoming a player in a European big league. And that's something I held on to as a kid and never let go of until it happened.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Was so in that case, the next question I had to you, if soccer was your first option, because it's not the main sport in the US. So did you play any other sport? Like, obviously you played like all of us, we try other sports, but did you play on a certain level, or you have any doubt at some point to decide to go to another sport or not, or it was always soccer?
No, I played many other sports growing up. In Southern California, you have many options because the weather's always nice, kind of like it is in Portugal. So I grew up playing baseball, even basketball, even though I was one of the shorter players. Still managed with a little quickness to get myself around the court, and on the end of some passes. Yeah, in Southern California, it was played water polo in high school. Like I said, a lot of baseball all the way up until high school. On the swimming team, on the track team. I surfed almost every single day, rode my skateboard around all day as a form of transportation as a kid. So very physically active in many different ways, which I do think helped me out later as a professional soccer player, 100%. My ability to adapt to new things, new movements, new tactical and technical traits that coaches were asked of me here. I was able to adapt very easily because of my physical ability and coordination that I gained or learned in the United States playing many sports.
That's that's very interesting, because I also agree that you should try, even the kids should try many sports, because it gives you the other skills, that you can bring to soccer. You should try every single sport, because you become more complete player, and you touch that point that for me it's very, very, very important. So yeah, so you've been trying a lot of stuff. And about your height to play basketball, is possible. We are the same height. We remember John Stockton. I don't know if you remember him. He was a short player for the time, and he was unbelievable player. So if when you are good, I think it doesn't matter so much, even if you play with very tall guys. So how it came? So you said that it came to you, the opportunity to come to Germany. Yeah. So how it was at the time, it was an agent, how it was the approach, it was the only option you had. Can you please tell us a bit more how it came across the possibility, and if you knew the club or the league, Bundesliga, please?
Well, as you know, this industry of sports and professional soccer is a lot about timing and connections and people and sometimes just good fortune. In my situation, it was some coincidences that just kind of lined up and enabled me to have an opportunity in Germany. I was involved with the under-18 U.S. national team. At that time, the coach was Ziggy Schmidt, who has passed away a couple years ago, unfortunately. But he was the head coach. He was born in Germany, and he had an assistant coach who played in the old NASL league in the United States, a German guy by the name of Wolfgang Zunholz. They both knew the manager at the time, or the general manager of Hannover 96. And we happened to be with the under-18 national team traveling in Germany in the summer of 98, playing some friendly games in the western part of Germany, I think in the Dortmund area, Dortmund and Krefeld. And we happened to play against, I think, Borussia Dortmund's A youth, and kind of a mix between the reserve team and the A youth team. And at that game was the general manager of Hannover 96. And he spoke to, my coaches of the team because they were old friends and they knew each other for a long time. And he watched the game, and somehow I must have caught in his eye and got some positive feedback from my coaches as well, which I'm grateful for. And one thing led to another. We stayed in touch over a 6-month period because I went back to college for another semester that I had already committed to, and stayed in touch. And then he brought me over, I think December of 98, for a week trial to see if I was still the same player he saw 6 months prior. And he still liked what he saw, and ended up signing a contract and got on a plane right after Christmas.
It's great. So yeah, coincidence, but it was very, it was quick. It happened quickly and in a certain way, and they were sure about the player they wanted. So there you are. That's why. So what were the main differences for you, and about the adaptation? Was it so hard for you? And the main differences, especially inside the pitch, like the type of football, if you can, the soccer, if you can say that.
Yeah, this is a huge topic that I've talked about a number of times with many people, coaches, parents, players. what is an American player missing, or what does an American player need to have success in Germany? But I think, first and foremost, the biggest difference is a cultural change. For me, growing up in Southern California, my trial here in Germany was on a pitch covered in snow. I had never played in snow in my entire life. So that was my first time playing soccer in snow. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you've never done it before, then it was pretty nerve-wracking to get your chance to become a professional player on a snow-covered pitch. So didn't get off to a good start, but other than those differences, cultural, weather-wise, language barrier, the actual on-the-field stuff was also very different. I think the general IQ or players' intelligence as far as tactics go were much higher than I was. And I was a very good athlete. I was technically sound. But in my mental side of the game, so being mentally tough and being a competitor was all fine. That was all on par. But I think the German players that were also my age at the time, they were tactically further along than I was. I would say at least a year, maybe 2 years further along. So that was the main area of the game where I needed to listen, to adapt, and to learn very quickly if I were to have a chance. And this is, even today, 20 years later, still the biggest difference I see in young American players when they come over here on trial, that the tactical side of the game is not quite up to par as a typical European player would be at that age.
Okay, so you already answered my next question that I was gonna ask about the differences, the differences now, and also if you agree, I think a huge step for the US. It was when you organized the World Cup '94. That for me and for many people was the best World Cup ever, the best organization, because of course the US have the biggest experience organizing big events, and it was a massive thing. And where you have that generation with Tony Meola, Alexi Lalas, all those players, that are Tab Ramos and big names, And do you think after that World Cup, it was when soccer became more popular in the US because people were more aware of what was happening, although in the US it's happening things and events all the time, but you think people started to see in a different way and practicing more because of that, or not?
Absolutely, and it's no coincidence that the league, the MLS, started again 2 years after the World Cup. And so I think it was a huge opportunity for soccer to get its foot in the door into the sports industry with the other big five, and or big four, I should say. And so and they really took advantage of that opportunity, so that we had the door opener of '94 having the World Cup, where soccer became very tangible for a lot of fans. It was very present and even in the mainstream media at that time. And fans, if they were interested, they could go to the stadium and watch and see international stars and see how the US team did as well, which was very important for us as a country to see our players do well at the home World Cup. And then 2 years later, have our own domestic league, starting small, but has been continually growing year from year. And I think the developers of the MLS, Don Garver and his team, have done an excellent job promoting the game and growing this league into something big. And I think if we just fast forward this conversation 20 years from now, I think we're going to see a very strong American league, that the quality of the game, the finished product, will continually get better, and may not be up to par. I think nobody can say what's going to happen in 20 years, but we don't have a crystal ball. But I do think they will close the gap on the European game for sure, and I'm really excited about the future of the game in the US.
For sure, and I think you are very ahead of me, because the questions I'm gonna make, you are touching so we are in the same page, like we say. And I believe also, I don't know if you agree, but in my opinion, this is a talk, is not only an interview, it's also to share opinions. And I think of course in the beginning the US came to Europe to get the knowledge, of course, about the sports that started in Europe, and you learned many things with Europe. Then you started on a system that it was trying to take the big stars We thought it was taking the big players, big names to the US. That was the way. But then you realized that it was to invert the pyramid. It was like to those players could be a reference for the youngest players, but to be successful, you had to start with the kids from small ages, and now you are doing that brilliantly. And I believe, like you said, that in I don't know, if even less, maybe 20 years or less, that that you will be like in a very, very equal level as Europe. And I think it's because of that, because you started very well to the youth teams, all the youth system, and you become to start with big names. You will also have the top players in the US, because when you do something, you do it well. And I think it's already time that Europe also needs to go to the US to learn also something, not only about football, but all the everything around, like the marketing, like the merchandising. It's like Premier League did that, and I think many other leagues also need to do it. So it's not only time for us to teach. It's also time for Europe to learn with the US. I don't know if you agree with me, but I see the things in that way, that that is this stage that the soccer is at the moment, and the future will be like that.
No, I think your opinion is spot on, and I do really think the the business side of sports, the marketing, the infrastructure is very far along. The idea behind professional sports becoming a form of entertainment and a place for families to go to spend the day or the weekend, or to make it an event. I think the European game will have to move in that direction. That is the only way to, in my opinion, to grow financially and to grow healthy, is to make it more of an event. And I know the hardcore soccer fans all around the world and Europe are trying to, obviously push against this movement, but it's really the only way to grow the game for the better, and to make it more accessible to everybody. So it's coming whether we want it to or not, to Europe. But I do think, there are many lessons that the European leagues can learn. And I do know for a fact, I don't know, can't speak for the other countries in Europe, but at least for Germany and the Bundesliga, they are looking over the pond and seeing how a single entity, meaning how the MLS runs their league financially, what opportunities or what advantages there are for a league and its stability in crisis situations like we have now with the COVID-19 situation. How can we protect ourselves from these situations? And I think, being a single entity, the league can control the amount of money being put in and being taken out. And so I think some clubs are, and the DFL, the business arm of the league in Germany, is may adapt to a few things and adopt a few things that are going on in the United States.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. That's good to know. Thank you for sharing. Now, tell us a bit more. Now, going after, so you finish your career also at Hannover, and you decided to become a manager. Yeah. So can you please tell us a bit more about that transition? Not so much why you finish your career, because those things happen and they happen. And let's talk about the part that you decided to become a manager, and the experience that you had as a manager at Hannover, and also national team. So yeah.
I was blessed with very good coaching growing up and throughout my entire career. And one of the lessons I learned, which is quite ironic, you think the better you get at this game and the higher you play, and the higher at each level you grow and you move up higher and higher up the totem pole, the better coaching should get. And in reality, that's not the truth. The professional game is about getting results, and coaches are not there to make you better. And this is something I learned as a player, and was kind of disappointed. And it's one of the reasons why I obviously wanted to become a coach as well. Coaching has always fascinated me. I've always had an ear for coaches and everything. Every time they told me as a young player, to do something, I'm going to try to do it, but also ask the same question, well, why is he telling me this? And what does it mean? And what's the bigger picture? So in some ways, I feel like I've always thought along those lines as a coach. But the biggest difference between coaching and playing is, of course, as a player, you're only responsible for yourself. And as a coach, you're responsible for the entire group and the vision and the movement of the group. So moving forward, it's a very big animal. The transition from a player to the coach is a lot of that. It's really getting your priorities straight. It's becoming more organized. I think coaching is 90% preparation. The better prepared you are, the better your trainings will be, the better you'll develop your players. And I think the better you can react in stressful and situations where you have to make quick decisions. So preparing is very, very important. And obviously time management goes hand in hand with that. And those are the two of the biggest things that I'll say I struggled with as a young coach in my first year or two, but that got better, and I found myself becoming a very good coach. And one of the things I was very happy with, and I would recommend to any young coach, start in the youth, try different drills and tactics, and explore new avenues, see what works, see what doesn't work. Youth players are very forgiving. They won't see your mistakes right away as a coach. So go out, have fun, try new things. Don't just do the drills that you did throughout your entire career, because drills you do in the finish game, the men's game, do not work in youth, and they're actually useless for the kids. So try new things, make your soccer brain work, and think about different ways to see the game and to train the game. And I think you'll become an excellent coach in a short amount of time. So I'm very glad that I got that opportunity to be a youth coach first.
That's great, and I agree 100% with you. And I think you are always learning, and you should start always like in that way, and so you can develop your own ideas. Of course, we all have influence from the coaches we had, or people that we admire, or coaches that are references. But putting your brain working, that's the trick, and like you said, that's very important. And if you do it good, sooner or later you reach the level that you deserve. And for sure, you had an amazing career as a player, but I believe that you will have even better as a coach. So you have many years in front still, so it can be longer, the coach career in a way, it can be longer, it depends, but yeah, I don't ask only easy questions. So I like to challenge you to answer to this one. So you as a manager, would you like to have yourself as a player? Or a player with, yeah, okay.
I would say yes, but not 11. Not 11 of them, for sure. Not 11 Steves. That's not going to work. Obviously, a team has to be well balanced. So you need different characters, different personalities, different attributes, physical and tactical and technical. So it's really finding the right mix between all of the components that we like to talk about when we talk about players. We'll have the four main categories. You have mentality, tactical, technical, and physical attributes. So really trying to mix and match those attributes on the field. You start in the back, the goalkeeper, and you move into your center backs, move out. So your back line, whether you're playing with 3 or 4 or 5, really needs to complement each other well in all of those areas. And I think that's the trick to coaching is how do you match personalities and characteristics with physical, technical, and tactical attributes as well. So that's really the trick in your line of work as well, in scouting and building rosters and teams. It's one of the hardest things to do, I believe. But it's probably in the finished game the area where you can save the most amount of money. And if you're a club who is developing players and likes to sell them on, that is the biggest opportunity to make money as well. So it's a very important part of the game. So to answer your question, no, I would not like 11 of me, but definitely you need some workhorses out there, players who will follow your guidelines, who have enough technical and tactical side of themselves to move within the framework of the coach, but have enough ability to make decisions and creativity to solve problems as well.
So basically, you choose yourself as a right back for your team. So not only 11, but the right back for your team will be you. So that's it. Yeah.
I always saw myself as more of a center midfielder, but
Okay.
but
Okay. The coach
that's a
is,
whole other
yeah.
conversation.
Okay. So maybe two Steves. Okay, one in the midfield, another one on the right. I think do you think also as a manager, as you see, like and me also as a scout, I believe that is very very important. Like you said, the balance in the team. Like and it's not like you said. You wouldn't choose 11 Steves, but I wouldn't also choose 11 Messis or 11 Ronaldos, because sometimes some players that are very valuable for a team, they people they don't how can I say, they are underestimate. So because for sure at a certain point at Hanover, especially if you have the same manager for a long time, for sure he was very happy to have you, because many times possibly he didn't have to spend too much time talking to you because you already knew your tactical knowledge, also how the club works, the system that he likes. So a clever player that can understand, like the game so well sometimes, and it's always there and it's regular and it plays all the time. It's so important sometimes as a player that can, like a striker that scores, but then he gets injured, then he scores, he comes back. So all the players are important. It's a team, but I think those players, for me, if I'm choosing 11 players, or 24 players, I think it's always important to have players like that. I don't know if you agree. I think players that you can count on them, to do their job, and you are not like. It's like you only need to give instructions to 10 of them or 9, because the other two, they will never play bad. Okay, maybe you don't score many goals or you don't do amazing skills, but they are completely fine with you. They don't need to be worried. Do you agree that it's important to have those kinds of players, and you see yourself like that or not?
Yes, I enjoyed that role. I've always took pride in telling the coach, you don't have to worry about me. Worry about other things. I'll be fine. I'll take care of my job. And the less he has to coach me, the happier I am. Not because I didn't enjoy coaching or corrections. I took pride in making sure that my area of the field and my jobs or responsibilities were taken care of. So yes, that was always important to me, and I would agree with that. I also do believe that every functioning group, whether we're talking about a soccer team or a team in the office working in a different company, will have those people in that group. You need people who kind of think outside the box as well. Your creative thinkers. You need people who will keep the group stabilized and function and moving towards a common goal. And that's something that I would always look for in a group. Absolutely.
Yeah, and also sometimes it's very important also to have players, and I believe like you were like that you don't mind to be like not under the lights, like I say, behind the scene a bit, like you have players like, let's say, Philip Lam, for example, was a bit similar in a way, the same case. He was not the star of the team, but possibly he was, no, for sure, he was one of the most important players for Bayern Munich, and is a legend also. And also you have players in the midfield, like midfielders like Iniesta, for example. He had Messi in the team, but everybody knows that he didn't mind to have Messi there, to play with the best and do his role, because in the end he'll be also part of the success. And it's important to have players that they understand that they don't need to be the main star, but if they do their things, they will be legends anyway. Do you think that makes sense? And it was also your case and the case of the players that I explained.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at two players in that team as well, you mentioned Barcelona and Messi, and in the back, I think captain for the time, Pujol. I think if you look at those players next to each other and they're both playing, I don't
Yeah,
know, a 5v2 or a small rondo, you would see very, very different players technically,
yeah,
that they probably don't belong on the same field together.
yeah,
Yet Messi would not be Messi if he didn't have a Pujol
yeah,
behind him, and in the locker room, in the box, so yeah, I think it's very, very interesting. You can't just have a homogenic group out on the field, everybody the same. It really needs to be kind of different characters, different attributes. Where, um, you know, if I have a Pujol at the number 10 spot, how am I going to score goals and how am I going to do the special
yeah,
thing? It's probably not going to work. I may not lose very many games, but I'm certainly not going to win a championship and play the type of football that Barcelona showed us. When Pep Guardiola was the coach. So I think, yeah, I absolutely agree with you, 100%. And those were very good examples.
yeah. That's great. We have here a question for you from Jela Davidats. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correct, and thank you for the question. And is asking what is the difference coaching process in the US and Europe?
Well, I will think sports in the United States, the mentality side of sports in the United States is extremely important, and I would think there was more time invested in that um, than there is in the European game. I think as far as soccer goes, but I can speak for Germany. In the youth development programs, the players are very egoistical in a way that it's about the individual players and their needs and their development. And I think in the United States, team sports are always driven upon winning games and functioning as a group. So I think some of the major lessons you learn growing up in team sports in the United States are how do we function as a group. And this role playing that we just talked about, okay, we have some who are the workers and we have some who are the stars, the creative players. That's something you learn at a very young age in team sports in the US. And I think that's, at least in Germany, that they could do a better job of.
Yeah, for sure. I agree completely with you. And I had a conversation before, in a webinar before, with the two Portuguese players that had a chance to play. One still plays in the US, and the other one played in the 70s and the 80s, and is a very good friend. And we touch always that subject, and that's true. So it's part of the culture of you guys already, like to work as a team, and that's something we also should learn, because in the end, it's like you said even before earlier, that you said it's football should be the industry should be more about taking people to the stadium to enjoy, like not only like you see like a show, like not so much like we see sometimes in Europe, the rivals and things that are not so great, and should be something for all of us to enjoy. And I think also it's, of course, it's a reflex of the society of each country, but if we can learn that part, and like you said, you learn since a young age to play as a team, and yeah, that's very interesting. And also I would like to ask you, so what do you think? Do you think now you are a manager, so let's say you learned many things with many managers, with many coaches, I believe. So what kind of experience did you gain? The biggest things that you gain in Europe, that if one day, for example, like you said, if you go back to the US to be a coach, that that you can also take there, that you think they are not entirely still in there. So if it makes sense, if you can bring new things, that learnings that you had for all these years, playing and talking and sharing ideas with other coaches, even coaching in Europe.
I think there's two ways to answer that. I think and I think one of the major things that I learned here in Europe is having very different types of managers. We were asked to play different styles and different types of soccer. And so I think really the trick is identifying first and foremost, what do I have as a group? What attributes do I have physically, technically, and mentally? And once we've identified that, once we've defined what we are as a team and a group and individually, what type of game can we play to maximize our chances of being successful? And then once we've identified, the type of soccer we want to play, so our vision or our philosophy, better said, then how to go about coaching that and getting that out of that group, and really convincing the group that this is our best chance to win games. Now, I say convincing because that's important, because some players may end up looking bad in the system because it's not playing to their attributes, and they may not be the star anymore. But it would give the club and the team the best opportunity to be successful. So I think those are the lessons that I really learned from all the managers over here, is identifying what I'm seeing and then matching the right style of soccer up with those qualities that I have in my group. And then once I've identified that, making sure, and I don't look left or right, I look straight ahead, making sure I get that out of the group, because I know and my team knows that this is our best chance of being successful.
It's great. Thank you for the answer. And we have another question here from someone, the Tactical Square. How can a foreigner young coach or analyst can have the chance to start to work in the US, and also I have and the advices that you can give for that, please.
Yeah, I would. You need to get your name out there, introduce yourself, send out your resume, through contacts, but also just being very busy, not taking no for an answer, and depending on what level and where you live, this we could get into more details, but I think in general that is the most important thing. Be busy, don't take no for an answer, and make them take you seriously.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for the advice, and it's for everybody, not only for coaches, even for scouts, for players, for anyone. It's never give up, basically, and try to to not take the no, like you said. That's very important, and yeah. Now you had briefly experience also in the national team as assistant coach. Yeah, is that correct?
Yes.
So yeah, did you find it's very different for many people that don't know? It's very different to work on a daily basis on a club, and it's very different to work in the national team. It's completely two different jobs. So what are the main the different for you? First of all, which one for you completes you more, if there is one that you prefer, and the different challenges on each one, so the hardest part of each one of them, and if you can say the easiest ones and the hard ones about being in a national team or in a team every day.
Well, I think it's difficult to say which one would suit me better. I will say this though, the more time I have with players or groups, the more I can give them. And coaching clubs, you're in a day in and day out, daily business. So you see them every day, and there's a lot of interaction, a lot of coaching, a lot of communication. And so anytime there's a lot of communication, you're building towards something. So you're developing something. You're developing either the player, you're developing maybe the person, the group dynamics, you're developing your vision. So I really enjoy developing a project. And to do that, I need time with players and people. So I would tend to say I enjoy coaching clubs more because I have more time to develop something. The challenges of a national team situation is you don't see the players at best maybe every 2 months. So every 8 weeks you have them for a week, maybe 10 days, and then once a summer you get them for a couple more weeks. But the time you see them isn't very long, and so you don't have a whole lot of time to develop anything. All you're really doing, or most of the time you're doing the national team, you're maintaining and you're not developing. So you're not moving forward, you're just kind of maintaining the level. and managing, and make sure you're getting the best out of them for those few days you have those players. So it's a little different, but I think the other obstacle you have as a national team is you're pulling players in from around the world, especially with the U.S. national team, where most of your players are scattered all over the world. Some are in MLS, some are in England, some are in Germany, some are in Holland and Scandinavia, some are in South America. So they really are everywhere. And so you have all of these different influences around the world affecting this player as a human being, but also as a soccer player on the field. And then you have to, in a very short amount of time, get all of these different cultures and tactics and habits moving towards one direction. So it's a really big challenge as a national team coach, which is very attracting as well to obviously to overcome this challenge. But I will say that coaching the club is more attractive to me right now.
Okay, yeah. Also about, because I believe, like I don't know if you agree, like Jose Mourinho says, he wants to be a national team coach when he will be older, because he likes the daily basis work, and I believe it's the same. And but do you believe there is a different profile? Because you see some successful coaches on national teams that they work. We have an example, and it's also Portuguese by coincidence, Carlos Queiroz. He took a few countries to World Cups, for example. He is very successful in the national teams. You have a profile, and then you see others that try to be national team coaches. They were not so successful, but have success in a club. Do you think there are different profiles or it's just a matter of the what you get, like the environment, also the everything around you, all the things are built, or you think it can be a different profile to be a national team coach or a coach for a club?
I don't think there's one answer for that question. It's a very good question, but I have had both types of coaches. I will explain it this way. I think you have managers and you have coaches. You have managers would be the type of managers or coaches who are they do more of mixing and matching and making sure the group's mentality and make sure the atmosphere is positive, and just maintaining really. And then you have coaches who are really on the field. They want to get down to the X's and O's of the game and really into the tactics, and not so worried about how the group is feeling and how the group is moving forward as a group and the group dynamics of it. So I think those two types of profiles you have, and I think the manager is probably more suited for the national team game, and the coach is probably more suited for the club game. But I will say that a good coach or a good manager will figure out both situations.
Yeah.
Kind of like there's no such thing as a young player and an old player. There's a good player and a bad player. I think that's maybe a good analogy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's about to be clever and adapt to the circumstances and work with it. Yeah, that's exactly. Now, curiosity. So, as a manager and also as a former player, which one is harder to manage the egos of the players on a club, that you get players from everywhere in the world, or at the national team? In principle, is in a club because it's different cultures, different egos, but it's the idea that people have. I think it's when you go to the national team, it's nice because you will see your friends again. For many times you possibly don't see them for months, and it's nice to be together. But there is also some rivals that want to get your place, or everybody wants to play. So what do you think it's the biggest challenge to manage about the egos, the players' egos? Because sometimes we have players that have big egos, even bigger than themselves. So what do you think? It's easier on a national team or on a club?
I would say it's easier at the club level because you see them more often. You have more opportunities to speak with them. You have more games, and your contracts are with your clubs and not with the national teams. So I think the contractual situation the player finds himself in at the club level really limits his actions, so what he can do if he's not happy as a player. In a national team, there are no contracts, so it's basically based on bonuses and invite only. So I think you see a lot more acting up going on at the national team level where egos come out into play. And I think one of the other big factors you have to realize is that at the club level, the players who are national team players are probably more of a star status. So you could have a star at a club level come into the national team level and having to adopt a different role. Maybe he in the national team level because let's say he's at we'll use Hanover 96, a Portuguese national team player who at Hanover 96 is a star, goes into the Portuguese national team, is not a star next to Cristiano Ronaldo. And so he has to take on a new role, and that may be difficult for him and his ego to swallow. So I think these are the challenges that the national team coaches have.
Thank you for that. And so, as a player, of course, you also had that part also to deal with the egos of the players at the national team, at the club. Because it's in one way you see people from your own country, but on the other side you see guys every day that you make friendship with them because you spend more time with them independently of the nationality. So that's the thing. So do you think also that when you had the chance to go to the national team, of course a player is very proud to represent his country. So do you think that most of the times the players, they, how can I say, they try to promote, they are more worried to promote their image because they go to a national team, or they are more into the group to be part of the group, or they are more worried if they are going to play, if they are not going to play, make the teammates' life easier, or sometimes there is a profile. That's why this is big to become to a point, because I believe that there is also a profile for a national team player. Not some people think it's the best to go to the national team, but we have the example for Brazil. Brazil could have like 5 national teams, especially a few years ago. But we have many examples of Brazilian players that they never went to the national team and they did brilliant careers, because there is a certain profile, to suit a national to play for the national team. You also have that in Germany. That is very the profile is very well defined. Some other countries, they don't have that chance because they don't have so many options to choose the players, and they have to choose those ones. So do you also agree that there is a certain profile for a player, and you as a coach, that you believe maybe this guy is a very good player? If you only see him as a player, he for sure he have his space at the team, but I don't want him at the team because he's gonna unbalance the team spirit, or any other thing, or even the system that the team plays. So do you think there is also a profile for a player for a national team?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think and I touched on this earlier, taking on a new role in your national team and then having a different role in your club is not always easy. And so those players who can do that will have careers in clubs and national teams. Some players can't do that. So I think it's very important for the manager of the national team to understand that what role he's asking of a player, and that's how you build a team. And for some, it would not be the best 11 players. I think your example of the Brazilian national team a couple of years ago was very good. I think they got into that situation where they were trying to And I think having the World Cup in their own country put a lot of pressure on the coaching staff and the federation to get the best players possible into the team. And then that's how you make bad decisions when expectations get higher and pressure from the outside and from the media as well creep into the decision-making process. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a different profile. I think players who enjoy being a part of the group, whether they're playing or not playing, players who will always give their best for the national team and for their country, are important. Players who are willing to take time and the risk away from their clubs and put themselves on the line, who could get injured, which could mean, which could cost them financially as well at their club level. Those are the players who are going to have success at the national team level. And you'll find that most of the national teams who are consistently winning will have a really good mix of players who can decide games, who have the qualities to decide games, and the ones who will keep the boat above water and will maintain situation and will achieve stability. I think that's really important to find that mix. But the majority of the players who have long national team careers are stable human beings who have a level head on their shoulders and who enjoy being part of the group.
Yeah, thank you for that, Steve. So we are going to finish. I think like you said, you are a privilege. You had the privilege to play in Germany and to also you are a US international, but of course you follow the German national team from close because you had many colleagues and they are also an example in Europe. And we can arrange a talk maybe in 20 years and we will see you at the national team in the US winning everything, and also with the knowledge that you were bringing from Germany, also from the national team. And I believe you will be the national team manager for the US, winning everything. I hope not beating Portugal so much like you've been doing in the last few years. And but it always depends also the generations and everything. We could stay here talking for a long time. I talk for myself because it's for me it's a pleasure, and to say thank you also to Ricardo to give me this opportunity to speak with people that I followed all your career, and and you have the opportunity to share these ideas. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for sharing all your experience, all your knowledge, and to be so nice. And it's people like that must stay in football, because that's the only way. And to keep involved in football, people like you. And for sure, about Ricardo Souza, for sure, I'll make you guys in touch. I'll put you guys in touch, and it will be nice. So thank you very much, Steve. It was a real pleasure for me. And we'll be in touch. Okay. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I agree with you 100%. We could do this all night, but at some point we have to stop. So it's a wonderful game, and there are so many topics we can talk about. So thanks again. Say hello to Ricardo for me, and send me a button, please.
Okay. Yeah.